Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Today on Ciao Italia, Canarduli. Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Welcome to Italy, and let's cook real Italian. Aren't they gorgeous? Swiss chard. I knew you said that. I'm in heaven. Okay, that's for you. Sundae sauce. All 20 regions of Italy are fabulous. And every time I do this, I think of my Nonna Galasso because she always made it this way. You want a Goldilocks dough, just right. Who doesn't like basil, especially in the summer? Obviously, you have to have pesto sauce at some point, right? I mean, I'm a cook. Why can't I try it? You're the best.
No, you're the best.
It took me a few tries to get it, but I finally got it. It's called Canederli. Canarduli. Canarduli. That's what we're making today, Canarduli. And you know where they come from? Right up here, Trentino Aldo Adige. Yep, the furthest northern region of Italy. So you can imagine the food there is very hearty, mountain kind of food, very hearty. And we're going to make a type of a dumpling. I think of it as a gnocchi, actually. It's called Canarduli. Canarduli. It has a ring to it. And you have to start with bread. So what we have to do is get some day-old bread. And you want to, and I'm talking about good bread. I'm not talking about, you know, that spongy stuff that you often get. But day-old bread that you can moisten with milk. So you take your loaf of bread and you cut it up into pieces, because we're going to soak this bread for about, 30 minutes or so in some milk. And whenever I make this Canarduli, it reminds me of something that's true all over Italy, that bread is never wasted. So if it's stale bread, it gets used for something else. So that's about 1.5 cups. That's about 2. And you really want the milk to be absorbed into this bread, because this is what you're going to use to help form the little dumplings. They're little balls. They're about the size of golf balls. And Canarduli is traditionally eaten as a soup. So you want to do this in a nice type of broth, and I'll talk to you about that in a little while. So I think I've got enough bread. Okay, crust and all. Well, that piece doesn't look so good, so let's cut that up. All right, so we put this in a bowl, and then we pour some milk over it, warm milk, and I've got some milk in my microwave. I'm just going to heat that up for about 30 seconds and pour it over the bread. Now, the reason we want this bread to sit around is so that it's nice and moist, but it's not soupy. And we'll be able then to use it to form the balls. So it's important that you really let it soak for about 30 minutes or so. All right, I think I can get over here and see what we're doing here in the milk. 7 seconds to go. Got it. All right, so we have about 2/3 cup. If you find that the bread is looking drier, you can always add more. So let me put that in there, all of it, and give it a little toss. This is the kind of thing that you're going to have to use your hands for later on. So we're going to just let that sit around. Make sure that you really have it all well mixed together. All right, if I need more milk, I can always add it. So I'm going to let that sit around. So now, besides the bread, let me move that out of the way. We have to talk about a great product that comes from the Trentino Aldo Adige. I just love that. Trentino Aldo Adige, it just kind of, and it's right here. This is Speck, or Speck. Some people say Speck. You can imagine why, because we're way up there. Think about, you know, the Austrian, German influence. So what is Speck? Speck. Well, Speck is a cured ham, a DOP ham from the Trentino. And this is what it looks like. And this is a ham that's both cured and smoked. Cured and smoked. And it's cured with juniper, with bay leaf, with rosemary. And every producer that makes Speck has his own particular variation on the spices as to how much they use of one or the other. So this is a very wonderful ham that's used in a lot of recipes in the Trentino. It's mainly eaten as an antipasto, but it's also great in this dish, which we're going to make, and you remember what that was? Canarduli. Canarduli. So we want to take our Speck pieces, and we're just going to kind of mince this up, because we're going to cook this with some onions. And when you buy it, you see I have it between sheets of paper, and that's because you don't want this to stick together. So let me get my knife and just cut that up. This is going to give great flavor to the Canarduli. And you see it has a nice line of fat on it, so we're not going to add too much fat to the pan. And the fat that we are going to add with this and the onions is butter, because we're in northern Italy and we're staying in that northern Italian tradition where you use butter and or olive oil, but mainly butter. So I'm going to give this a little mince. It's also great with just pears or cheese, but a wonderful, wonderful product. Speck or Speck. Okay, so we have our Speck, and now we need to get our onions ready. So here we have some minced onions. One minced onion will do it. This recipe will make about 12 small sized balls. Usually this is served in a beef broth. You could do it in a chicken broth if you wanted to, but 2 is usually a serving, and it's a first course. So let's get our butter going in a pan. So I'm going to turn up the heat here a little bit, get myself a spoon, and get that butter in. Let's start with about a tablespoon of butter, because remember, there's fat on the Speck or Speck. Okay, so we're going to add the onions. I won't need all of this. I would say 1 small onion. And we want to get that soft. We're going to add the Speck. And we're going to let this go. We want to get that really, really soft, and we want the Speck to kind of get just a little bit of a crusty look to it. Okay, now let me talk to you about the cheese. Well, the cheese for this is pretty special too, because we're going to a different region for that. Here's a cheese from northern Italy, from the Veneto. This is Asiago. Asiago is a cow's milk cheese. It has a really nice nutty flavor. It's a mountain cheese. And I actually went to the Caseificio when I was in Asiago, right in the town of Asiago, for which this cheese is named, and watched the cheesemakers make this cheese. So we want to grate some of the Asiago for our dish here. Asiago is an interesting cheese in that it can come in either, you can use it either fresh, it's called fresco, or you can have it when it's aged, called stagionato. So that depends on your preference, but I like it. I like all types of the aging process for Asiago. The fresco, which is a nice table cheese, and then the stagionato. So we need, I would say about a good ½ cup. That looks exactly like a ½ cup. So there's a ½ cup of the Asiago. So now I got to go back and check on my Speck and see how that's doing. Let it cook just a little longer, but we'll mix up some eggs. while we're waiting for this. So you want 2 eggs for this recipe. Did I tell you this was going to make about 12? And we just want to whisk them up. That looks good. So now we're going to add this to our bread. 2 eggs and the Asiago cheese. Remember, that's from Asiago, the town of Asiago in the Veneto. We have a couple tablespoons of flour. That goes in. And then we want to add what you find in northern Italy a lot, and that is noce moscato. Yes, noce moscato, which is nutmeg. See? There's nutmeg. That's how it looks when you buy it, if you're going to grate it yourself, which is better than buying it already grated. And then, what's the difference? Well, to get to this, you first have to crack that. That's the outer shell, often called mace when it's ground. So the inner part of this is this, the nutmeg. The outer part is the mace. And you know how I get that open? Let me show you. I tried using my teeth, but that didn't work. See? And there it is, right there. See? Looks like a nutmeg to me. Okay, so we need some of that. So I'm going to have some already in the grinder, and so I'm just going to grind the nutmeg in. You find nutmeg in a lot of meat dishes as well, sauces, meat dishes in northern Italy. Not so much in the south. So I'm going to give it a good grinding of nutmeg because I like nutmeg. So there is nutmeg. We stir this in. And now we can add our speck and onions. Well, let me get that. There it is, look at that. Nicely browned. That all goes in. Don't you love this pan? A friend of mine loaned it to me, because of course I don't have any pans of my own, but. All right, so now we have all of the ingredients that we need here, and we really want to mix that in well. When I first had these in the Trentino, I thought they were so unusual. This is their idea of gnocchi, you know, because I'm used to potato gnocchi, ricotta gnocchi, semolina gnocchi, but this is much different. It's very tasty. So then, si usa le mani, and you make a little dumpling. Now, the trick is, how do you know that this is going to hold together in the broth? Well, we don't. That's why I'm only going to make one. And I'm going to try it first in the broth. So I like to make these a little bit ahead of time because then they can just all kind of sit up. You put them on a dish like this. Okay, so I'm going to let that one sit there and talk to you about the broth. Let me wash my hands. So traditionally, this is served in a beef broth. And guess what? I've got some right here. I just want you to take a look at the color of that broth. This did not come from a can, folks. No, no, no. This came from hard work, from celery, from carrots, from onions, from beef marrow bones, and all roasted first, and then put in a pot with water and allowed to cook for a long time, strained out, and this is what you have. So this beautiful beef broth. So now I'm going to raise the heat to high on this because I want this to be boiling so I can see whether or not those little balls are going to hold together. All right, now that we have our bread mixture ready to make the Canarduli, all we have to do is add the parsley. And in Italian cooking, you want to make sure that that is flat leaf Italian parsley, which looks like this, see? It has a flat leaf, not a curly leaf. And the trick to this is to use the stem too, because there's a lot of flavor right in the stem. I remember watching my mother mince parsley, and I always wondered why she didn't take the stem off until she told me. She says, you know, there's a lot of flavor in those stems. So every time she made meatballs or she made soup or whatever it was that she was making, she always used the stems. So we want to mince this. That looks about right, and we go right in here. Remember, you're going to let this mixture sit around so that it gets thick and that flour gets really well incorporated into the egg and the bread and the onion and the speck. Okay. I don't play golf, so I'm just gonna, does that look like a golf ball size? I think it does, like that. So there's one. And you have your broth is ready. That timer's telling me that the broth is ready. There's two. And if your hands tend to get a little sticky while you're doing this, first of all, take off your rings. That's the first thing. And secondly, you can always dip your hands in a little water, and that will help. Don't do flour, though, because you don't want to cloud the broth. Okay. So there are my little Canarduli. So they're ready for the broth. And you want the broth to be at a easy boil. You don't want it to be rapidly boiling. Let's see if this works. That will tell me if I need more flour. So I don't want to make these real heavy. Seems to be holding together just beautifully, doesn't it? Let me turn the heat down a little bit. And once these are in the broth, they cook for about 3 minutes or so, just to set the egg and the flour, and then they're served right in the broth. So it looks like we have lift off. So we're going to take that out. Okay, not falling apart, so I think we can go ahead. So I'm going to do that gently. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You want these to cook at a low boil for about 3 to 4 minutes. Really, you're setting the egg and you're cooking the flour. So I'm going to raise up the heat on that just a bit, put the cover on, and in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I'm going to come back and check them. While that's cooking, let me give you a little garden tip. You know I have a big garden. I really have to thank my husband, Guy, who puts that in every year. But here's a little tip for herbs, fresh herbs, particularly parsley. I want to show you how you can freeze it for future use. Because you know, you can't always get it nice and fresh in the wintertime, and parsley freezes beautifully. So, stems and all, you just mince it again. I mince it really well. And I have this for a year in the refrigerator. I take all of the parsley out of the garden just before frost, although parsley can take a frost. It can take a partial frost. But I'll take it just before the garden season is going down. And I've got piles of it, not just this little dinky pile. I mince it like this, by hand, because you don't want to do this in a food processor. Because a food processor really tears the leaves too much, and it exudes too much of the water that it's in the leaves, so it makes it mushy. So if you're going to do this, you really want to do it by hand. Okay, so there are the minced parsley leaves. Then I take, either you can do it on a paper towel or on some press and seal. I put a wad of it. I try to do this in the increments of how I'm going to use it, like a couple tablespoons in each package. And then I just fold it over like that. And I twist it like a caramel candy. See? Like that. And then I put a whole pile of them in plastic bags, like this. Then I put them in the freezer. Let me show you what I mean. See what that says? Parsley 216. Oh, here's one. So then I just, when I'm ready to cook whatever I'm doing, soup or whatever it is, you don't defrost it. You open it up. And you have a ball of parsley that now can go in your sauces or in your soups or in your stews. Great tip, huh? Let's check on the Canarduli. These look great. We can eat now. Canarduli. The next time you're in the Trentino or in your own kitchen, you owe it to yourself to make Canarduli. And now we need to give this a nice sprinkling of Parmigiano Reggiano right over the top. A delicious first course. And until I see you nella cucina again, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Ciao. Okay, I am a sucker for gelato. Take a look at this. And this is made here. Look at this one, Snickers. Snicker gelato. Oh, look at that one, the mint. Oh my God, look at this one. Fantastic. And here, you see the sign? It says Gelato Artigianale, which means homemade gelato, made right here. Mountains of the stuff. Look at this cone. Look at this cone. It's an artistic description. Look at that.
Oh, Snickers.
Snickers. Look at these cones. Put your boxed cone that you get in a grocery store to shame. This is artistic. Oh my God. Melone. We've got strawberry. Got mango. Banana. Limone. Wild berry. Whiskey. Whiskey gelato? Allora. Cono per me. Snickers. Medium. Medium. This one. Okay. Due. Snickers. And come si chiama questo?
Raffaello.
Raffaello e vaniglia.
Coconut, white chocolate. Oh.
Now you guys are going to have to eat this. So this is white chocolate, coconut. You're going to have to eat this. Grazie. Why be normal when you can be exotic?